G presentation session of 25th International Student Summit on Food, Agriculture, and Environment here at Tokyo NODAI. So, have everyone enjoyed the lunch? Nice. So, better be awake and ready because last but not least, we have finally come to our final presentation session. And it's my honor to be your chairperson today. I'm Zhang Yunling. You can call me by Neil. I'm from National Zhongxin University, Taiwan, major in entomology. And I'm here with my co-chairperson, Hunter.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hunter Ogochi from Tokyo NODAI. My major is agricultural engineering. I hope you enjoy Group G's session.
Yep, thank you, Hunter. And we have 4 outstanding presenters joined from 4 countries. Each brings their own research and perspective to the floor. Let me briefly introduce them to you. So from your left, we have Saveni, Sarunov, Isuri, and Kambet. Okay, now before we begin, please allow me to briefly outline the guidelines for today's presentation. So each presenter will have 12 minutes for their presentation and followed by 3 minutes Q&A session. So without further ado, let's welcome our first presenter, Savani. She is from University of British Columbia, Canada. Her topic today is organizing for hope, turning climate emotions into collective action, student climate justice activism. Savani, the floor is yours.
Hello. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Savani, and in this presentation, I'll use Climate Justice UBC, a student-led climate justice activism and advocacy club at the University of British Columbia, as a case study to demonstrate how participation in grassroots community activism can create safe spaces on campus for students to process their climate emotions while advancing real structural change. Climate Justice UBC, or CJUBC, works to address and organize against climate change and its root causes while creating supportive spaces for students. Our work combines environmental action, social justice, community care, and collective hope. And in this context, organizing is about bringing people together around a shared goal and building the collective power needed to create meaningful change. It involves recruiting and welcoming new people, developing leadership skills, building strong relationships, and planning collective action. Rather than relying on individuals acting alone, organizing focuses on equipping communities with the knowledge, skills, and support that they need to make an impact. Now, I first joined this organization in 2022 in my first year of university as a general member, and since then I've served as co-president, president, and now still continue to participate in a coordinator capacity with them. Today, I'll discuss why CJUBC's work is important, how our organization operates, the campaigns we lead, the impact we've achieved, and how this work contributes to the broader theme of inclusive activities and sustainability and community welfare. So climate change is not only an environmental crisis, it is also increasingly becoming a mental health and well-being challenge, particularly for young people. Research shows that many youth experience climate anxiety, grief, anger, hopelessness, and helplessness when confronted with the realities of climate change. I mean, we're constantly exposed to alarming headlines about catastrophic climate conditions and the impact that they've had on communities. We've also seen some of these headlines in some of the other presentations today. And in the face of all of this, it is easy to fall into the trap of hopelessness and despair that can arise from the assumption that one does not have the resources, knowledge, or power to do anything about the devastation around them. These are all complex systemic problems, and yet many responses to tackle climate anxiety focus on helping individuals become more resilient. And while building emotional resilience is very important, this approach does not properly address the systemic reasons causing these negative emotions in the first place. To combat this, research suggests that building community and collectively organizing around a shared vision for a better future can relieve the stress associated with negative climate emotions. Community, hope, joy, optimism, and collective action then become powerful tools for transforming anxiety into engagement. I'd like to emphasize here that hope can be described as a practice rather than simply an emotion. It can be stated that hope is a discipline, or in other words, it is something that we actively cultivate through community, through action and community. In a world where it seems like all we see are headlines talking about the constant climate catastrophes, hope should not be toxically optimistic, nor should one be paralyzed in climate despair. Hope demands a person to take courageous action in envisioning a future, a better and more sustainable future for all, even in the face of deep systemic uncertainty. It demands compassion for your community and an understanding that while we may not like the situation we're in, we have to connect to our emotional responses and find a way to face the problem together. To understand CJUBC overall, it's important to know that we do not simply organize for climate action, we organize for climate justice. Climate justice frames climate change as both an environmental and a social justice issue. It argues that effective climate action must address the unequal distribution of climate harms and responsibilities while ensuring that mitigation and adaptation policies promote equity, participation, and the protection of human rights. In short, this means that when advancing and proposing climate solutions, no burden is left unconsidered and all voices are included in the path forward. To put this into practice, CJUBC is guided by a detailed set of community principles that shape how members work together internally and how the organization engages with the broader community. Rather than simply outlining organizational values, these principles establish a shared framework for collective action, accountability, and decision-making. At their core, these principles emphasize accessibility, inclusion, and collective care. We recognize that everyone comes to this work with different experiences, identities, and needs, and that creating accessible organizing spaces is a shared responsibility. We also believe that climate justice cannot be separated from other struggles for justice, which is why we work in solidarity with movements for Indigenous sovereignty, racial justice, disability justice, migrant justice, and economic justice. Our principles encourage us to center the voices and leadership of those affected most by the climate crisis, while remaining accountable to communities that are often left excluded from decision-making spaces. They challenge us to reflect on our own positionality, learn from our mistakes, and prioritize the safety and dignity of marginalized communities. Finally, these principles remind us that the way we create change matters. We aim to build a movement that is sustainable, collaborative, and rooted in hope rather than burnout. By prioritizing community care, accountability, and long-term relationship building, we strive to create the kind of just and regenerative future that we are advocating for through our campaigns and organizing. One of these campaigns is fossil-free research. This campaign emerged from a research paper right there. Called Complicity in a Climate Emergency, which was written by former CJUBC members. This report found that UBC researchers, specifically in the UBC's Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Science Department, received significant funding from the fossil fuel industry, raising concerns about the influence of these partnerships. In response, the campaign calls on UBC to adopt climate justice standards for research funding and establish a just transition fund to help researchers move away from fossil fuel funding while continuing their work. These standards would expand UBC's commitment to climate justice, going beyond divesting the endowment towards a new paradigm of disassociation. Disassociation involves severing ties across the university's activities by prohibiting institutional relationships that have a financial component with members of an industry who do not meet sustainability and justice criteria. To build momentum, CJUBC has launched an open letter for faculty and researchers to sign, calling on UBC to recognize the well-established links between fossil fuel funding and climate misinformation and to strengthen its research funding policies. The second campaign is Action and Mobilizing. This campaign focuses on bringing people together by organizing community-focused events. Members organize community dinners, film screenings, fundraisers, educational workshops, rallies, and other events. And you can see some of the posters we've created to promote these events up on the screen right now. A central part of this campaign is in supporting Indigenous land defenders and Indigenous-led environmental movements. These events create space for Indigenous voices, stories, and knowledge to be shared, recognizing that storytelling is a powerful form of climate action and visualizing alternative futures. Indigenous narratives communicate lived experiences of environmental change, strengthen cultural connections to the land, and challenge dominant perspectives on conservation and resource use. By centering these voices, the campaign encourages students to learn from Indigenous leadership while building relationships and solidarity across communities and creating safe spaces to process climate emotions. Through these events, students not only deepen their understanding of climate justice, but also become a part of a supportive community working towards meaningful collective change. The third campaign is Banks Off Campus. Which campaigns to remove financial institutions that fund fossil fuel expansion from campus partnerships, sponsorships, and investments. A major focus of this campaign is also financial education. Through workshops and discussions, students learn that where they choose to bank can have real climate impacts as many major banks continue to finance fossil fuel projects. The campaign empowers students to make informed choices, such as banking with credit unions, and shows how collective action can amplify their impact. In addition, the campaign also builds solidarity with other social justice movements and labor organizations across Vancouver, recognizing that climate justice is closely connected to economic and social justice. The long-term efforts of CJUBC members, both past and present, have contributed to many tangible impacts. And perhaps the most significant achievement associated with the organization was a successful 6-year campaign that encouraged the University of British Columbia to divest its multi-billion-dollar land endowment from fossil fuels in 2019. This victory demonstrated that organized student advocacy can influence institutional decision-making and hold universities accountable for the impacts of their investments. And although this divestment campaign concluded before my involvement with the organization, it continues to influence our current work. One example of this is the fossil-free research campaign, which builds on the idea that universities must not only divest, but also from fossil fuels, but also critically examine their relationships with the fossil fuel industry through research partnerships and funding. The Fossil Free Research Campaign's open letter has already achieved important milestones by securing the official endorsement for the Center for Climate Justice at UBC, which is a research hub on campus working across faculties to advance climate justice. Our Action and Mobilizing campaign has also produced meaningful outcomes. Through fundraising events, concerts, film screenings, and community gatherings, we have raised awareness about the climate justice issues while supporting frontline communities. One recent example was a concert fundraiser that raised approximately $7,500 for the Laki Firekeepers, an Indigenous Gitsan youth-led organization in British Columbia. This event demonstrated how cultural events can be used to build solidarity while providing direct material support for environmental justice efforts. For fundraising efforts, 200 tickets were sold for the musical event, along with screened printed T-shirts, as you can see in the corner over there, that were made through the hard work of our members. Another significant achievement occurred in March 2025 when we co-organized a Youth Climate Corps town hall during the federal election period. The Youth Climate Corps initiative advocates for the creation of green jobs and opportunities for youth to gain experience and contribute to community-based projects. And so this town hall brought together 4 youth activists, 7 candidates for member of parliament from 3 federal political parties, and over 100 students and community members. This event created a platform for discussing youth-led climate solutions and contributed to growing support for the Youth Climate Corps initiative, which later received $40 million in pilot funding in the federal budget later that year. These examples demonstrate that student organizing can create impacts at multiple scales, from supporting local communities to influencing institutional and governmental decision-making. However, one of the most meaningful outcomes of CJUBC can be seen in the experiences of its members. One coordinating member has explained that participation in CJUBC made them feel less hopeless in the face of the climate crisis, describing how organizing with others helped them realize that they were not alone in their concerns and that meaningful climate action becomes possible when people work together. Another member shared that the organization allowed them to reconnect with activism in a way that they had not experienced in a very long time. They appreciated being trusted with meaningful responsibilities and valued the opportunity to collaborate with others who shared commitment to addressing climate change. These testimonies support the central argument that community-based organizing can play an important role in addressing both the social and emotional dimensions of climate change. Despite these successes, CJUBC still faces some challenges. And one of the most significant challenges that we face is funding. Because we don't charge membership fees to ensure that participation remains accessible regardless of any financial circumstances that students may have. This also means that many of our activities depend on grants, fundraising efforts, and partnerships with other organizations. A second challenge is volunteer capacity. CJUBC is led primarily by students who are balancing coursework, employment, research activities, and other personal commitments, and sustaining long-term campaigns while maintaining academic success can be very difficult. This also goes hand in hand with the challenge of burnout, which is common within activist communities. Climate justice work often involves confronting difficult realities and responding to urgent environmental issues. And for this reason, one of our priorities is building what we call community sustainability, encouraging members to pace themselves, recognize their own limits, and understand that long-term movements require sustainable participation rather than constant productivity. Looking towards the future, we hope to continue expanding student engagement, strengthening partnerships with community organization, and increasing awareness of climate justice issues across campus. Because ultimately, our goal is not simply to grow the organization, but to strengthen our capacity to create meaningful and lasting change. To conclude, this paper has shown that climate justice organizing is about much more than reducing emissions. It's about building inclusive communities that advance both environmental sustainability and community well-being. CJUBC demonstrates that students are not powerless in the face of climate change. As university students, we have access to knowledge, research, and are connected to influential academic institutions. By collectively organizing and using these resources strategically, we can create meaningful local change that contributes to broader global movements for climate justice. We're all here today at the 25th ISS because we believe that research has a power to make a difference. And as students from different countries and disciplines, we also have a responsibility to learn from one another and build international solidarity. At a time when our world is facing climate disasters, conflict, and growing social divisions, one of the most impactful actions that we can take is to bring people together, include diverse perspectives in the search for solutions, and recognize our shared humanity. By centering hope, community care, Indigenous solidarity, and institutional accountability, we demonstrate that climate action can simultaneously advance environmental sustainability and community welfare. I'd like to thank all members of CJUBC, both past and present, for all of the work that they put into making some of these campaigns possible, and for everyone here who helped organize this incredible event, and for everyone who made it possible for me to attend. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Okay, thank you, Savani, for such interesting presentation on climate justice and youth action. Showed us how we can transform climate anxiety into meaningful action through youth-led action. Now we open the floor for question. Does anyone have the question?
Thank you very much. My name is Toki. I'm from Tokyo NODAI. And thank you very much for your presentation. So I'm just wondering with one question, because you talk about emotions. So how do you measure the impact of your action? Like, how can you measure the mental well-being of someone? How can you measure the emotion of someone, the happiness or the harmless? Thank you.
Of course. This research paper was conducted as a case study, so we weren't exactly conducting psychological evaluation of our members. However, I wasn't able to put up all of the testimonies up on the screen because that'd be a little too long to read. But even talking from my own personal experience, even when we talk about like burnout by being involved in these like activist spaces, it's very different from the feeling of like hopelessness that you might feel when you're like disconnected and like away from your communities. Because like I've definitely like taken breaks in a sense of like, oh, like, you know, like I have a lot of academic work right now, maybe I need to take a step aside, or like the world is experiencing things that I need to not necessarily like I had assumed that I would need to take a break from, but then I realized that like by being disconnected from these communities, it was actually like making my like hopelessness a lot worse. Because by being in these spaces, you're in like a space where all of these other students, like not only like they genuinely believe that the work that we can do can help. And being in a space that like practices that hope as a discipline is I feel like it's very transformative. I know it's not answering your exact question of how we can measure this, but in terms of like the several testimonies that I've had from students. There were only 2 and like parts of testimonies that were displayed up on screen, but I have had many conversations with many members, and we've generally come to the conclusion that Climate Justice UBC has been a very important community space for feeling a little lighter about all of the things that are happening in the world around us.
Yes,
That's it.
thank you.
Hello, I'm Judy from University of California, Davis. Loved your presentation. I was taking many pictures the whole time. We have done a lot of similar work at UC Davis and have only really started to talk across campuses such as UC Berkeley, which is just like right up next to us. Have you done any cross collaboration with other universities, whether that be in Canada or in the US or otherwise?
Yes. We actually are a part of like several like Canada-wide and even like beyond networks. There's Campus Climate Network, which actually specifically deals with like the fossil-free research. So we have several fossil-free research campaigns across several different campuses on Canada, and sometimes we like organize like Canada-wide events. And there's also Change Course, which like works specifically with like banking institutions that fund fossil fuel projects. And so we have like we are like a part of like these are like UBC chapters of movements that are generally more like Canada wide, but obviously we take a lot of inspiration from like other American universities as well, because we know that there's a lot of, I feel like I might not remember the specific universities, but we've taken a lot of inspiration from them in terms of developing our just transition criteria for researchers receiving any sort of like money for their research from like the fossil fuel industry. It's a very sensitive topic. It is very difficult. Obviously, researchers should be able to continue their work, but like that involves a just transition. And I think again, building international solidarity and like sharing our ideas and coming together is like a very important part of like all of the work that we do.
Awesome. Thank you. And I will be talking to you about this so much more.
I would love to.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I think for the time, this is supposed to be a last question. So thank you so much for the great questions. Let's give Savini another round of applause.
Lovely. Thank you, Yoon. Thank you, Savini. We will now move on to our second presenter. Please welcome Sarul Norov from the Mongolian University of Life Sciences. A round of applause for Sarul Norov. His presentation title is Improving MRV in Agriculture, Accurate Calculation of Sheep Enteric Methane and CH4 Conversion Factors. Sarul Norov, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. In Mongolia, we say Utrimint. Okay, so I'm ready to present my presentation here. Okay, so my topic is improving MRV in agriculture, accurate calculation of sheep and enteric methane conversion factors. So MRV is a measurement, reporting, and verification. Okay. So let me start with why this matters. Mongolia is home to roughly 23 million sheep and similar numbers of goats. These animals aren't just livestock. They are backbone of food security, household income, and cultural identity for rural herding families across the country. But this skills comes with the climate cost. Livestock account for about 60% of our total agricultural greenhouse gas emissions, and methane from grazing ruminants alone makes up 29% of that. So if we want effective mitigation strategies, we first need to measure these emissions accurately. And that's the gap our research addresses. Right now, most countries, including Mongolia, rely on IPCC default methane conversion factors, known as YM, which are the set between 6.5 to 7%. The problem is these defaults come from high quality forest studies in temperate regions like New Zealand. Mongolia's reality is very different. Our grazing condition, animal classes, and the diet quality vary significantly from these global models. When we rely on defaults that don't reflect local condition, or national greenhouse gas interests become inaccurate. And that has real consequences for climate policy and international reporting. This is exactly why we need region-specific MRV approach. Research context in them. So this research sits within the broader theme of the year summit, pushing boundaries and inclusive activities for community welfare. I've been dedicated research student on this project since 2024, and our university has worked to integrate the climate-smart livestock research directly into curriculum. Our goal has always been to bridge the gap between academic study and the practical on the ground agricultural solutions, because good science should serve the herders and communities it's measuring. Students' activities. So here's a look at my actual fieldwork. We set up a respiration chamber with a controlled volume of 1052.9 liters to monitor in the window shape. Alongside that, we run feed analysis to determine dry matter and chemical composition of the forage and the tract methane concentration over 90-minute sampling intervals. We also calculated the energy for training, gross energy, digestible energy, and metabolizable energy to understand exactly where the energy in the animal's diet was going. The next, this is the photo showing, first photo shows the we're getting a sample of methane, the gas in the chamber. And the second photo shows we're collecting a ship's waste to measure it. And the third photo is we're weighing the waste. And the last photo is showing we're weighing the grass of sheep was eating. And this is the photo of the farm I'm working in. Community outreach and impact. So research doesn't mean much if it stays in the lab. We made the point of sharing our findings directly with the local farmers, closing the gap between science and the practice. We demonstrated how improved feeding and management practice can actually reduce methane emissions on the ground. By promoting climate smart solutions, we're supporting both environmental protection and the rural livelihoods at the same time, which is really the core of what community welfare means in this context. Research methodology and the methane measurement. Now let's go into methodology. We use the closed chamber gas chromatography to precisely determine the methane content in exhaled bread using the same restoration chamber under controlled conditions. Gas samples were collected at every 90 minutes after the animal was placed in the chamber. Our study subjects were 5 years old ewes grazing in the Hanga mountain pasture. So Hanga is the central of Mongolia. Before entering the chamber, each animal went through a 5-day feed digestion test with daily monitoring of a forage intake phases and the urine output. So the process had 4 stages. First, the 5-day fit digestion test. Second, the chamber adaptation. Third, gas sampling and analysis. And fourth, the energy partitioning and the calculation. This is the result here. And here are our core results. We measured the daily methane production at 50.50 grams per day, which translates to methane energy loss of 0.33 megajoules per day. And that gives us a methane conversion factor of 4.34%. Okay, so this number is very lower than the we're currently using conversion factors. Energy partitioning and utilization. Breaking this down further, gross energy intake was 1.023 megajoules per kilogram of metabolic body weight. That's our 100% baseline. Of that, the digestible energy came out of 0.640 or 60%, and the metabolizable energy was 0.561 or 54.8%. Methane energy loss accounted for just 0.044 of the 4.33 of gross energy, consistent with the conversion factor of the previous slide. Challenges and constraints in the research. Of course, this work comes with the real constraints. We faced equipment limitations, advanced respiration chambers, and precise gas chromatography facilities are scarce. Finding gaps made the long-term, large-scale monitoring across provinces difficult. There's also broader issue of national data scarcity. Mongolia simply lacks comprehensive historical data sets on the enteric methane specific to our livestock breeds and grazing conditions. And logistically, the building consistent collaboration with nomadic herders across remote mountain and steppe regions is generally hard. Perspectives and future directions. So looking ahead, we see four priorities: expanding laboratory capacity so we can run more frequent measurement across different livestock species, building global collaboration to share technical expertise and monitoring technology, in investing in student training to prepare the next generation of climate-smart livestock research. Together, these steps build a more robust scientific foundation for sustainable livestock management in Mongolia. So conclusion and summary of the impact. So bring this together, the research provided context-specific data that can help refine Mongolia's national livestock emission factors and improve the accuracy of greenhouse gas inventories. It shows that Mongolian sheep may have higher rumen efficiency than global defaults assume, which matters for accurate mitigation planning. This work aligns directly with the ISS mission, bridging rigorous research with community welfare and supports long-term sustainable livestock management and environmental protection through evidence-based science. Ultimately, we're working towards climate-smart solutions, sustainable agricultural future in Mongolia. And I want to tell you guys, my research job is still ongoing, so this is not the final result. And thank you for your attention and time.
Another round of applause. Thank you, Sarulonov. That was a good presentation on improving MRV in agriculture in Mongolia. So from Sarulonov's presentation, we learned that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. By combining direct measurements with real-world conditions, we can fine-tune emission reports, helping Mongolia and other pastoral regions get fairer and more accurate climate data for their livestock systems. With that, I open the floor to questions.
Good afternoon. That was a good presentation. My name is Glenn. I'm from Tokyo University of Agriculture. Well, my question is, why did you focus on sheep instead of goats? And why did you focus specifically on two questions. Why sheep instead of goats, since there are 23 million sheep, 23 million goats? Question one. Question two, why sheep that are 5-year-old ewes?
It's a very nice question. So I want to start with the second one. So why we choose 5-year-old means they're fully grown and can be relied on the specific data. So they're the perfect for research, fully grown sheep. And second question for that, you asked why we choose sheep, right?
Yeah, instead of the goats.
Yeah. Okay, so why we choose goats? Mongolian. At first, I told this year. So Mongolia is home to roughly 23 million sheep. So it's they are the backbone of Mongolian culture and backbone of food security and household income and so you guys, I think sheep is perfect choice because what I'm trying to say is
I think I get what you're saying because of the economic importance of sheep. That's why you used. Yes.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much.
Another question from the audience. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My name is Anita Ramson from Tokyo University of Agriculture. I want to ask you one question, but please can you return to the page that show graph? Yes. As I can see, I see like the increase in methane concentration from 15 minutes to 50, but I think there is slow increase of methane concentration, and after 15 minutes to 90 minutes, there is high increase of methane. Can you please tell me why do you think there is such trend?
First, the sheep was really stressed when we put her in the chamber. After she relaxed, she started breathing so fast. That's the reason why it grew so much.
Can you please repeat again?
Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, you're asking why did it jump so fast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So reason because of this, at first we put a sheep in the chamber. She was really stressed.
Yes.
And after she relaxed, she starts breathing heavily. That's because why this jumps so quickly.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Another question. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Basin Sarpon from Kasetsart University. I'm just curious, in the controlled environments, I can see that you use the 1052.9 liters, right? And 20.75 degrees Celsius and 0.8339 atmosphere's pressure. I'm curious, like, why did you choose that specific temperature and pressure? Is it because it will allow for ease of prediction for the as in the regional methane emissions, like later on in the research?
So, first, it is perfect for the ship.
Oh, I see.
And the second, you're asking specifically why we used chamber or not
Why you use the specific
chamber, right?
temperature
Yeah,
and
okay. So,
pressure?
why we use chamber? So, chamber method gives high measurement, very precise information. That's why we used.
Oh, I meant temperature.
Oh,
Sorry.
the temperature and the humidity and other things was perfect for the ship.
Oh, and is it similar to typical Mongolian climate?
Oh yeah, it's very similar.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
All right. That's the time we have for the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Sam. Another round of applause to Sarunoro.
Okay. Next, let's welcome our third presenter, Isuri, from University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. And she will share the topic of Argue Connect Lanka, a student-led digital ecosystem to mobilize underutilized agricultural resource for inclusive community development. Isuri, the floor is yours.
So, good afternoon, konnichiwa, and aibowan to everyone. So, let me start my presentation with a simple question. In a country where farmers grow food for millions, why do many of them still struggle to earn a fair income? So, in Sri Lanka, we don't actually lack of agricultural resources. We lack something far more critical, that is the visibility. So, hidden across rural landscapes are crops, plants, and natural resources that are nutritious, valuable, and even medicinal. But they remain unseen by markets, unseen by the technology, and also unseen by the policies. So, and when something is unseen, it becomes underused and eventually it forgotten. Today, I'm presenting a system designed to change that. So, good afternoon, distinguished judges, respected professors, and the chairpersons, fellow researchers, and the ISS participants. So, I'm Isuri Rodrigo. I'm an third-year undergraduate from Faculty of Agriculture, University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. And it is a privilege to represent my country and my university at the 25th International Student Summit here in Tokyo, Japan. Today, I'm delighted to present AgriConnect Lanka, a student-led digital ecosystem designed to mobilize underutilized agricultural resources for inclusive community development. This project was inspired by a simple yet a powerful question, and that is, how can a digital innovation transform overlooked agricultural resources into opportunities for sustainable livelihoods? So as you can see in the pictures, during the first semester of my degree program, I had the opportunity to spend time one of the most beautiful rural agricultural village in Sri Lanka, which is situated in dry zone of Sri Lanka, and that's called Mahailupalama. And it was a landscape shaped by ancient irrigation tanks and the golden paddy fields and small farming communities living in harmony with the nature. So it was not just a village, it was a living example of Sri Lanka's agricultural heritage. And during this period, we engaged in hands-on agricultural practicals and closely interacted with farmers in the field. And that experience opened my eyes. I began to notice something important. Despite their deep knowledge and hard work, many farmers were facing challenges that were not visible at first glance. Limited access to timely technical guidance, poor market connections, underutilized land resources, and lack of coordination between stakeholders were common issues. That moment became the foundation of my idea, AgriConnect Lanka, the mobile application. So, during my observations and stakeholder discussions, I identified four main interconnected challenges. The first one is a significant amount of agricultural land remains underutilized. So, as you can see, about 22% of arable lands remain underutilized. And so as the second one, the traditional crops and indigenous products often fail to reach a profitable market. And as the third one, rural women, youth, persons with disabilities, and retired agricultural professionals have limited opportunities to contribute. And finally, farmers continue to face poor access to technical guidance and reliable markets. And in Sri Lanka, we have a good potential for agritourism, but it remains largely untapped. That's also an observation that I have observed during my student activities. So the real challenge is not lack of resources, it is lack of connectivity. So I asked myself a simple question: what if one platform could connect them all? So during the student activities, we perform some field works, and we have observed that these observations, as you can see, we have observed information asymmetry, limited digital adoption, market inefficiencies, unreachable extension services, and also there was no single connected platform to connect farmers, youth volunteers, and students who like to contribute these projects, and the agricultural experts, and also the authorities and NGOs. So the consequences of that is delayed decision making, higher crop income losses, and lower productivity and less profit. So the farmer knows the problem. The solution is the technology. But who connects them? What if every unused backyard, every unemployed youth, and every neglected crop in Sri Lanka could become part of the one intelligent agricultural ecosystem? That was my main project idea. And then that question became the foundation of AgriConnect Lanka. Rather than creating another farming application, I designed an ecosystem that connects farmers, agricultural experts, students, volunteers, NGOs, and government authorities. The goal is simple: transform isolated agricultural resources into one connected community network where knowledge, services, and the opportunities can flow efficiently. So this integrated approach is the key innovation of my project. So let me briefly explain how this ecosystem works. So AgriConnect Lanka is built around 5 core functions. As you can see, the first function is land sharing enables unused land to become productive, and the marketplace connect producers directly with buyers, reducing dependence on intermediaries and the middlemen. And expert guidance provides timely technical support. A volunteer network encourages youth and university students to engage with farming communities. Finally, knowledge sharing promotes continuous learning among all the stakeholders. Together, these features create a collaborative agricultural ecosystem instead of a standalone digital tool. So equally important was ensuring that the platform remains accessible to every farmer in this farming community. So one of my priorities was to make the platform accessible to every farmer, regardless of their digital skills. So users first select their preferred language. In Sri Lanka, the main language is its Sinhala, and we use Tamil and English as well. So farmers can select their preferred language as Sinhala, Tamil, or English and register according to their role. such as a farmer, student, NGO representative, or agricultural expert. Farmers can report their needs in less than 30 seconds using one-tap icons, voice messages, or photos while sharing only their villages or local administrative area to protect their privacy. So this simple design ensures accessibility, inclusiveness, and ease of use even in rural communities with limited digital literacy. So once information is submitted, the platform begins to work intelligently. So how the system thinks. The system follows 6 key steps. It begins with user registration and role identification. It then analyzes the submitted information and generates smart recommendation based on the user's needs. And finally, it connects right people such as experts, volunteers, and other authorities, enabling timely action and better agricultural outcomes. And instead of simply collecting information, the platform transforms information into coordinated action. So here you can see the flow chart of how this mobile application works. First, you can select the preferred language, and you can log in or register as continue as a guest. So in registration page, you can have you have to put the username and the password. And this is the main page of this mobile application. You have to select a specific role as farmer, landowner, buyer, expert, agritourism host, volunteer, like that. So according to that, the profile setup page is implemented. And this is the central page of the mobile application. So here within one tab, you can have the access to primary matching with fine land, or you can actually, as an example, if I had a land with which is not used and which is not productive, if someone wants a land for their cultivation and they don't have access or having fair income to obtain a land, they can communicate with each other and after sharing their details, they can have access to share the land and those informations. And second, the marketplace information will appear there. So in the Knowledge Hub, you can connect with agricultural experts and agritourism experts. Those features are the main features in this AgriConnect Lanka app. So this project was developed through a systematic and participatory process. I began by assessing real agricultural challenges and consulting relevant stakeholders to understand their needs. So based on their feedback, I refined the concept using literature validation, participatory approaches, and digital system modeling. The framework was continuously improved through iterative feedback to ensure that it addresses practical challenges rather than theoretical assumptions. This user-centered development process strengthens both the relevance and feasibility of the processed system. So with the framework established, I developed a practical implementation pathway. So the realistic implementation plan. To ensure the sustainability, I proposed a 3-phase implementation strategy. The first phase begins with a simple pilot in one village to evaluate usability and community acceptance. And the second phase expands to multiple districts through partnerships with universities, NGOs, and the agricultural institutes. So finally, the system can integrated with national agricultural programs for island-wide implementation. So the expected impact extends far beyond the technology. Farmers receive faster technical support, students gain meaningful field experiences, NGOs can coordinate resources more efficiently, government authorities receive real-time community information for better decision-making. Ultimately, AgriConnect Lanka strengthens collaboration while improving agricultural productivity, livelihoods, and community resilience. And also, when discussing about the environmental impact, it helps to conserve biodiversity, promotes neglected crops, supports rural livelihoods, encourage sustainable farming, while enhance the environmental awareness. So, like any innovation, this project faces several challenges, including funding limitations, digital literacy gaps, and the need to build trust in digital services among the rural farmers. However, these challenges also present opportunities for collaboration. Future work will focus on pilot implementation, partnership with universities and extension services, and continuous improvement based on user feedback. These photos depicts while we are engaging in extension activities, field extension activities with farmer families. So my long-term vision is to develop AgriConnect Lanka into a nationally adopted platform that can also be adopted by other developing countries facing similar agricultural challenges as Sri Lanka. So adaptable to developing countries, suitable for small islands and climate vulnerable regions, low cost, student-led, community-owned, replicable through international student network. So my vision is a future where every farmer, regardless of the location, has equal access to knowledge, markets, services, and opportunities through digital connectivity. So in conclusion, AgriConnect Lanka is more than a digital platform. In 25th ISS theme, it shows that pushing boundaries, inclusive activities for community welfare. So we have to consider about three main factors like pushing boundaries, inclusive activities, as well as the community welfare. So the main boundary that I have pushed is Sri Lanka is kind of a country with the people who are lacking of knowledge about technology. So this approach is to to gain technical knowledge to farmers through the student services and the inclusive participation. It engages rural women, youth, students, persons with disabilities, and retired professionals, creates equal opportunities for all community members to contribute. And also in community welfare and environmental sustainability, it generates income through backyard agriculture, agritourism, strengthen food security and local economies, and encourage sustainable land use and eco-friendly farming practices. And also, AgriConnect Lanka contributes to sustainable development goals as well. For example, for SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 10, 12, and 15. So, although this is inspired by the needs of Sri Lanka, I believe its concept is relevant to many developing countries where similar challenges exist. So as a young agriculture student, my contribution through this project is not only proposing a technological solution, but also demonstrating how innovation can empower communities and create lasting social impact. I would like to conclude with one thought. By connecting people, resources, knowledge, and technology, AgriConnect Lanka demonstrate how youth-led innovation can create resilient communities while pushing boundaries for inclusive community welfare. Actually, agriculture does not lack resources, it lacks connections. By connecting people, knowledge, and opportunities, we can transform rural communities into resilient and sustainable ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yusri, for the wonderful presentation. AgriConnect Lanka demonstrate how digital innovation and youth leadership can turn underutilized agricultural resources into meaningful community welfare. At this time, I would like to invite questions from the audience. Does anyone have questions?
Hi, Gabriela from University of São Paulo in Brazil. I think your initiative is really nice, but I'm curious on how you plan to promote it, because I see that for you to be able like to have the most of this project, lots of people have to be subscribed and using this app. So I want to know like how you plan on convincing like promoting like all these people to use your platform. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And I plan to market this app through seminars and those meetings with farmer societies. In Sri Lanka, we have farmer societies in rural village. Most of those farmer societies we have young farmers, so they are very really adapted to technology than the old farmers. So we continue the extension programs to giving the knowledge about this how this system works, and we can have subscribers from those farmer societies, and those younger generation will help to older farmers to adopt this technology. I think it's working as adaptable approach.
Thank you for your presentation, and I really like your presentation. I'm Maya from Tokyo NODAI, and I would ask what kind of tourist activities, tourist attraction that will be provided in your research field, and is it possible to be edutourism? I mean, educational tourism as well, because your program, your activity is very familiar with educational tourism, I think.
Thank you. It's a really good question. So in Sri Lanka, we are situated in Indian Ocean below the India. So it is an island which is bounded by sea. So we are having plenty of natural resources, but most of those resources are neglected and underutilized. So we don't have to pay, or we don't have to spend money or do those things to market the natural resources in Sri Lanka. We already have naturally them. So the thing is, the people, the farmers in rural societies, rural villages, mostly in dry zone of Sri Lanka, they don't have an idea how to create job opportunities through these natural resources. So we do have in my hometown also, we do have tanks, irrigation tanks, you may know irrigation tanks, and many paddy fields, waterfalls, and those things that are naturally available, but the farmers don't know how to create income from them. So through this AgriConnect Lanka application, the students who are learning in universities, they have kind of idea about agrotourism. So they give extension programs to farmers through this mobile application, then how they can start agrotourism within their village and within their region. So that's how it support the system, right?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, due to the time, can you ask Dick later? Personally, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for your wonderful questions. And let's give Italy another big applause.
Right. Thank you, Yun. Thank you, Isuri. And now for our final presenter of the session. Please welcome Kemphet from the National University of Laos. A round of applause. Our presentation title is Using Gamification to encourage waste segregation. A case study of volunteer activities at the That Luang Festival. The floor is yours.
สบายดีตอนสวย Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kemhe Janbotong. There's four years students from the National Universities of Laos. So today I would like to present about the project that bring environmental and social together. The title is the Using Gamification to Encourage Waste Education, a case study of volunteer activity at the That Luang Festival. So, to give some background, That Luang Festival is the most significant cultural and spiritual events in my country, Laos. Every year, thousands of people, not just local, but also the international tourists and also the citizens from another province, like gather to celebrate this beautiful traditional. However, this massive scale always bring a major environmental challenge, like a huge amount of rubbish generated during the festivals. So recently, public concerns over it has mounted a major factor that the many participants travel from remote area they don't know like the modern waste systems that leading to worry awareness of waste segregations. And these projects were executed by SEES, which stands for Social Environmental Education and Development. So we are students volunteer group were founded within the Faculty of Environmental Science at our universities. This team consists about like 60 volunteer strategically stationed as its dedicated booths as well as several partner or sponsor sites to maximize the public interactions. And I personally serve as a media coordinator at Les Course stands, where I just focus on capturing our visual story and inviting the guests to join our challenge. Now let's talk about our strategies. Normal environmental campaign just give out brochures or tell people what to do. So we use gamification to make learning funny and competitive. Almonds activities with an interactive waste education game within a 30 seconds challenge. The participants will receive flat cards of the common trash at the festival, like plastic bottles, plastic bag, the food container, the paper bag, and also the aluminum cans. So they have to sort these kinds of like trash into the correct bin. So before that running out of time, and the limits of time that always made the game more exciting. To encourage this good behavior, the winner who sorts everything correctly will receive an eco-friendly like reusable bottles. So in the future, we want to use technology. We also want to use digital platform like Kahoots to host environmental quizzes on smartphones. So will help us grow our projects and also save paper and attract more young generations. To ensure Crumpy's community welfare, our responsibility not stop when the festival ends. The Kings of Action, we stood in front line, working directly with the professional municipal cleaner to clean up the entire area. These real actions were very important because it's allowed our volunteer to see the real problems of the waste management while helping to make our beautiful monument clean again. For the results, we found that many people were very interested in our booths. People or breakouts stopped by to join us. Most interestingly, when we look at their waste education skills, we found that participants already has knowledge about like separating trash. This proved an important point that the public actually know how to separate trash. What they need is just the right motivations, reminder, and enough brings in the real festivals. For the challenge and perspective, despite our success, we face an important challenge. We noticed that someone just like come to pay the game just to get the prize. Once they get the prize, they don't really care about our environmental message. For the perspective, environmental education must focus on making waste education a practical social norm in daily life than just one-time prize actions. We can achieve this by embedding green activity into regular programs of community festival. And for the conclusions, this project successfully puts the boundary of the traditional environmental educations by using game field methods to create an inclusive learning atmosphere for the people of all age. Secondly, our cleanup actions prove that youth can be powerful leader in community sets and cultural preservations. So this bring here to the end. It probably might be short, but thank you for you guys for your attention. ขอบคุณใจ
All right. Thank you, Kemfet. A very interesting perspective from Laos. From Kemfet's presentation, we have learned how student volunteers tackled a growing problem at Laos's biggest cultural event, the That Luang Festival. They turned recycling waste into a game. This highlights how student-led creativity can boost environmental awareness overnight, but lasting change takes culture, not just games. Let us now open the floor to questions. Questions from the audience.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. My name is Anne from JCOT, Kenya. I'm eagerly asking myself, you have said that the festival is important. Maybe just to clarify, how frequent is the festival and what is the sustainability of the project? When you are done with your 4th year, how will it continue? The practice, will it continue going on, or how long will it take? There are long-term results. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. You mean like what we gonna continue like how years? Like actually this volunteer we consist in our faculty actually, and I only attend just in the 2020 years, and I'm not continue now, but I can tell that they also continue, and like when you have a new student, they also like bring that generation into that group. Like they have a group chat that they're gonna send a document to the leader of the room. So they just send the like information who interests you. You can attend to join the volunteer, this group volunteer, and they always continue like actually this volunteer group was created like since 2014 until now, and they're gonna continue.
All right, thank you. And how frequent is the festival?
What do you mean? Sorry.
The frequency, like the festival happens after how long? how many times in a year or in a week or in a month?
This festival. All these festival they also consist like on November, like once a year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another one.
Hello. Again, Judy from UC Davis. I have two questions for you. The first one, I work with UC Davis Sustainability, and we do a similar type of waste sorting game, so really cool to see it in other spaces. We do it mostly at farmers markets. Have you looked into broadening it to places other than festivals, such as a weekly farmers market, if that's something that you have? And then the second one, were you able to track how many people you reached, how many participants were like involved in the game, or was it more just you were there and seeing like a constant stream of people?
Thank you for the question. I'm gonna answer the second one first. So, we don't have like exactly the number. Like we just saw it. They come and our price is all gone. That's why we know that that was interested in them. Yeah. So what's with the first question? I'm sorry.
No worries. If you are thinking of doing this in a more like weekly, monthly fashion, so I do it at a weekly farmers market on my campus. Have you looked into doing events like this more often?
Yeah, that actually is quite more often. Like we not just use in also like a traditional event. We also like have to go to the rural area. That they also have like school in the rural area. So we went there. Right. We also like write a letter and ask for the budget from NGO organizations, and when they give out the budget, so we can go like in the rural area just to teach them about like environmental thing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
We can take two more.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm Anju Hayashi from Tokyo NODAI. I'm just curious about how collecting the trash. After collecting the trash, how did you transport it? Because in Japan, we often don't have the public trash, then because it's difficult to transport because of the cost. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, how do you handle this in your project?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. After like we cleaning after the festival ends, they also have like municipal center that they're gonna take the trash out. We just like we just volunteer who just pick and separate for them, and then they have the municipal just take that to the landfill. Yeah, also, but some reusable they probably like send to the factory, I think, and some they just selling in the like it's like I don't know this app here or everywhere. I don't know what's it called. Like they has a local store that who buy like trash that cannot recyclable. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, the last one.
Hi, my name is Martin from Tanzania. Thank you for your nice presentation. Just wanted to ask you a question. That the world now is seeking for the best sustainable ways, to keep the environment so safe over long years. Like in your method, what ways are you going to convince us? Like sometimes I don't believe that the rewards will be provided due to limited budgets maybe, and maybe over some decades.
I'm sorry. Could you explain more clearly?
The question is, the world now is seeking for, the sustainable way to keep our environment safe over the years. just like the waste collection infrastructures that are built around our campuses that are made for so that they can stay for long years. What about using the festivals? I don't believe that the festivals will stay long, like over the decades, maybe 2 years, 5 years later, maybe due to limited budget and provision of rewards when there are annual budget.
So is that a question or a comment?
It's just a comment. How can you suggest? I mean, I need the suggestion.
I think he is recommending that the sustainability of the project can be done beyond the festival, right? Beyond the festival, it can be taken to campuses around Laos. Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kemfet. A round of applause for the last presenter of 25th ISS. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings Group G to a close. On behalf of my co-chair, Yongling Chang, and myself, a sincere thank you to all our four presenters, Savini, Sarunorov, Hisuri, and Kemfet. Your research and the conversations you sparked today are exactly what ISS is about. Thank you as well to everyone in the audience for your engagement and your questions. We hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes the group presentations for the 25th ISS. So once again, thank you to Group G for your presentation. A warm round of applause, please. And not just Group G, please give a warm round of applause for all the 27 presenters who have shared their amazing research and their projects throughout the past 2 days. So warm round of applause for them. And also thank you to all the teachers, professors, and also the guests for attending, not just in person, but on live streaming as well. We hope you enjoy the presentations. I know I did because I was able to see and listen to all the amazing projects and ideas. So thank you, everyone.